Refreshing. Hello, everybody. It is the Dark Conservatarian, and yes, I am back with the news stream. I am finally back from my business trip, and I know that I said that in my announcement video that I was going to have a little bit of an extended hiatus even after I get back from the business trip. So I'm kind of breaking it, but I decided to break it hiatus momentarily even after I get least, just because this subject I just really had to get off of my chest. As within the last week, I have been run across Facebook posts talking about Tom Hanks supposedly being a pedophile. Yeah. So it's quite upsetting. And just a little bit of a forewarning. And also, I want to say that there's a response video that I keep on telling Brandon that I'm going to get done. Rest assured that is going to be very quickly done, hopefully within the week. But for right now, I really had to get this off of my chest because, honestly, Toy Story is an integral part of my childhood. And even more so, do I like Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, and Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers being that he did not actually act in, but he helped produce though. So I'm a little bit invested with in this story in regards of Tom Hanks. Honestly, probably got a little bit angrier than I should have than what was necessary, but unfortunately, I still got naturally just angry. And hello, Miv Cuttlefish. Yeah, I got a little bit more angry than I probably should have. And to those family and friends that I have got angry on Facebook arguing about this subject. Sorry, trying to gather up my thoughts here, people. I'm sorry. I probably should have. I probably got a little bit too angry than I should have. But all the same, here we are now, and I just had to talk about this because of my investment of Tom Hanks as not only as an actor, but he's one of the more likable people in Hollywood just in general. Even though if he might be a little bit too left for my opinion when it comes to political commentary, but all the same. And so I had to talk about this, and I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the whole Wayfair subject that I'd be remiss to not talk about. Excuse me. But anyway, so I've been seeing some posts on Facebook, and it's just primarily posts on Facebook, like memes and resharing of other people's posts, like bigger Facebook personalities' posts being shared around on Facebook talking about not only Tom Hanks, but also a whole lot of other rich dudes, people who are a little bit more of the, I guess you could say, global elite, and alleging as to how they all are a bunch of pedos, are involved in child trafficking rings, visited Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island and all that other shit. As far as those other characters go, I don't really care that much about, but because of Tom Hanks being dragged into this, Tom Hanks, of all people, the voice of Woody, the face of Forrest Gump, being dragged into this, it's one that I started to get a little bit more involved in about this. And I'll talk about a little bit about Wayfair a little bit later, but I got asking for sources in regards of Tom Hanks supposedly being a pedophile. And one of the arguments that is brought forth, and by the way, I pre-read these 4 articles that I have listed right now just to make this live stream a little bit quicker for you guys as viewing convenience. But anyway, one of the arguments that has been presented to me is that he is going to Greece. And I will admit that that did strike a little bit fishy to me, honestly. But until there's actually solid evidence of him actually doing the act of, either going to Epstein's island or diddling kids or whatever, it just seems like coincidence to me. Until you can actually prove the main subject of the matter, that being the allegations brought to Tom Hanks, the fact that he moved to Greece is just coincidental. It doesn't mean worth squat to me. And as I go reading from the Daily Beast here, they go talking about primarily as to how he is invested in Greece, has been investing a lot of time and emotion into Greece, as he done some humanitarian projects with Greece. I think there was a wildfire, if I remember correctly from the Daily Beast article here, talking about that he helped do some recovery acts in regards of those wildfires and so forth. And for the longest time, he had been setting himself up to eventually become a Greek citizen. If I recall correctly, he already got himself Greek national status. So he already put his one foot in the doorway of living in Greece and becoming, a part of the populace of Greece itself. So the work was already started, but the fact that he took the final step to fully move to Greece, call it his home, call himself a citizen of Greece, it's just a coincidence, in my opinion. And the other argument, the second argument in regards of Tom Hanks supposedly being a pedo, is that he visited Jeffrey Epstein's island. I cannot remember what the island was called. I think it was set up in the Caribbean. Yeah, no, it was somewhere in the Caribbean of where Epstein's island was. And this article here from Daily Beast goes talking a little bit about he actually wasn't on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs. That's where the crux of the argument primarily goes to. And I wanted to go a little bit more into a disclaimer. Even if it was found out that, I don't know, he visited the island and so forth, it does really raise eyebrows. I will grant to some people out there, but at the same time, did he know about the whole child trafficking operations and activities that Epstein was doing? Epstein and all of his closest buddies are doing. Did he actually participate in, screwing children? I mean, he could still have visited the island and he just be Tom Hanks. I mean, be an outright idiot as to what was going on. Just be completely, utterly ignorant of the whole case. As to how possible that kind of a circumstance would be, him visiting the island and not knowing anything about this at the same time, how possible is that exact situation? I don't know how likely it is. But even with that disclaimer in mind, the claim itself that he was on the flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein's plane that was called the Lolita Express, I think was what it was called, that seems to be untrue as well, as the Daily Beast gets a little bit into. And Reuters.com of all places. Reuters is not exactly a left-leaning website, everybody. And that seems to be what a lot of this stems from, is this whole kind of left-right partisan divide, which I'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later. But Reuters is one of the less biased websites when it comes to information. And the fact that Reuters itself goes diving deep into the whole allegations of him supposedly being part of a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein and being on the flight logs, the fact that they are saying that that's not true kind of strikes a blow against those allegations. And so far, honestly, nobody has given me any solid evidence as to back up on whether or not any of this is true, to be quite frank with you. I haven't seen any evidence. The most that I have seen is a whole bunch of memes and other crap like that. Circumstantial evidence, coincidences, or even some debunked minor claims about this instance. So, honestly, it seems so why is this being done? I don't know. Honestly, I'm kind of mad, people. Like I said a little bit earlier, probably a little bit more mad than I should be, because this doesn't affect me in any personal manner, but it still kind of pisses me off because, being a fan of Toy Story and all those other medias that Tom Hanks stars in, that is near and dear to all of our hearts, not just my own when it comes to certain medias. But why is this being done? I don't exactly know. But it seems that most of the allegations are coming from primarily people who fall under the right. Now, that's not to say that people on the right are generally speaking throwing out all these false allegations towards people of them being pedophiles or whatever. But it just seems to be primarily right-wing people. I mean, for example, I'm on the right, and I'm sure that there are a few other people, and I think a lot of my own subscriber base as well, for that matter, would at least understand my arguments or my position as to how I don't believe this. How I am not going to just go around thinking that Tom Hanks, of all people, is a kid diddler. It just seems that the thing that kind of, I guess, pisses me off primarily is not just the accusations itself of Tom Hanks being a pedo, but also the mentality of my own side of the political spectrum. As, like I just said, I fall on the right side of the political spectrum. And on the flip side of things, the left side of the political spectrum, with their whole Me Too allegations, them just throwing around a whole bunch of rape allegations at people with little to no evidence or very, very weak evidence to where it's still. It just seems that the right is like, or people on the right are doing basically the same thing with pedophilia allegations towards Tom Hanks and other people. And these same people who have problems with the Me Too allegations, with the Me Too movement when it comes to rape allegations, just seem to be the same people that are going baselessly accusing people of pedophilia, or full on believing the allegations, at least, that Tom Hanks and other people are pedos. Now, like I said, again, other elitists out there being kid diddlers or child traffickers or whatever, I mean, I do not know how exactly true they are. They might be true for all I know. It's just Tom Hanks I'm taking on a subjective basis. Tom Hanks specifically, I'm saying, who seems to not be a pedo at all, as far as my research goes. So, what I have to say to people on my side of the political spectrum, don't be like a Me Too feminist, but instead the subject is about pedophilia instead of rape allegations towards people who are of age, women who are of age, anyways. And so, in kind of further talk about this conversation, and by the way, I will get to the chat here in a little bit, folks, to read up, but right now I'm just wanting to get this off of my chest before I go addressing the chat. So hold on tight. I won't be that much longer. But kind of connecting to this very same subject, Wayfair. Now, for the last month or two, or maybe even 3 months, there have been like that Wayfair themselves are involved in child trafficking, are involved in some broader scale child trafficking ring. And might I just premise that I do not doubt at all the possibility or even the likability that there is, in fact, a global elite that is participating in pedophilia activities and so forth. But this, like the Tom Hanks story, just this specifically, I haven't seen any solid evidence on, honestly. And I really hate to be the odd one out on this whole subject, because a whole lot of my own Facebook friends and family have been buying into this. So it almost seems to be, I don't know, what would you say? An almost general fact, or at least it would seem on the surface anyways, a general fact that Wayfair is participating in child trafficking and so forth. But later on, I started asking in my head, what is the actual evidence? Because I've been seeing nothing but, again, memes and just vague posts about the subject. So when I gone researching into it, my Google search, when I typed in Wayfair and child trafficking, I found nothing, no actual websites that actually gone stating that it is a fact that Wayfair is participating in child trafficking. In fact, I've seen more articles going against that narrative than anything. Example being both Reuters and USA Today. And some of the cases of child trafficking that people like go citing, some of the anecdotal examples of such might be true, but there's just a few of the examples that have been going more viral that do not exactly hold up to scrutiny. And so in observing and in reading of both of these articles that I have read in the past week, and by the way, the links for them will be down in the description box below for anybody who wants to read them. But basically, I'm just going to give you the bare bone facts of it all. Basically, both Reuters and USA Today, they go quoting from Wayfair, the officials of Wayfair, who are basically just denying the allegations, who are saying, no, we're not participating in that. And of course, the argument has been posed to me, if you were practicing in pedophilia, would you admit it yourself? Well, of course not. So with that in mind, it is understandable as to how that bit of these articles is dismissible. The fact that these two articles just go quoting Wayfair executives denying the allegations. But on the flip side, there's another bit of information that both Reuters and USA Today go quoting in regards to this. They go bringing up specific examples of people by name named after, or pieces of furniture that have been named after these specific examples of children who have been trafficked, who have been kidnapped, and so forth. So to kind of break it down a little bit more, Wayfair, I guess, has some fanciful names, and Wayfair has some overly priced pieces of furniture. They have some overly fanciful names for these overly priced pieces of furniture, and it's because those furniture are so freaking expensive that they go thinking, this is unbelievable how expensive these are. And because the furniture coincidentally is named after these children that have been trafficked or kidnapped before, they go making the connection in their own head, the assumption in their own head, that must mean that Wayfair is participating in child trafficking. Basically, they're just going off of circumstantial or coincidental evidence as well. Nothing very solid that I have seen so far. But to try and get down a little bit more to the nub of my point here, some of these children who have been cited as examples of child trafficking, or children or teenagers or whatever that have been cited as examples of people being trafficked by Wayfair, they've come out and spoke on Facebook and other social media saying, I am no longer trafficked, I am no longer kidnapped, I have been found by my parents, and so on and so forth. And again, it's understandable that you would dismiss them quoting Wayfair themselves, denying the allegations, but the people themselves, the alleged victims of this trafficking, speaking out, no, it's not true, I'm no longer trafficked, I'm no longer kidnapped, that just goes smacking right in the face of the allegations of Wayfair contributing in child trafficking. And by the way, just another note to people, I don't feel as much emotionally invested in Wayfair. I don't really give much of a shit about them. Tom Hanks, yeah, I was a little bit emotionally, no, actually quite a bit emotionally invested in Tom Hanks, but Wayfair, no. So I didn't even really care, but I was still going in with an unbiased and open mind, and it seems that the claims do not hold up to scrutiny. So I'm sorry to be the odd one out in this whole story to everybody who might watch this in the future, but for all the allegations of child trafficking towards Wayfair, I have to pull a tilde here. Citation needed. Now, it's not to say that there might be a few people out there who have been trafficked, or a few examples of people who have been trafficked, in fact, by Wayfair. On the other hand, some of these other specific examples of trafficking, of people being trafficked, those people speaking out, it just seems to, because of the fact that those specific people being debunked of being trafficked or whatnot, it just seems to kind of make the allegations kind of weak in honesty. It just weakens the claim of Wayfair overall being so malicious. And so that's that I have to present as far as information goes on this on these two subjects. So I'm going to read the chat a little bit, and then I'm probably going to get out of here because honestly, I have to work on my editing project, and I still have to unpack some stuff from my moving, as my apartment is still just a big old mess of boxes, people. But anyway, so far we have just Myth Cuttlefish, Sent 1000, and JC Armitage who have participated in the chat, and I thank you guys for participating as well, by the way. So Myth Cuttlefish says, starting off, Tom Hanks may not be a pedo, but he probably knows some, and he's a shit for not burning him. I troll, seriously, but I troll. All right. I will say that the subject of Tom Hanks possibly knowing some people who he might, I don't know, knowingly be doing some at least fishy stuff in regards of children, he doesn't speak out on them. It might ultimately show some degradation on his own moral character, in all honesty. But he isn't so immorally abhorrent in that he actually actively participated in the diddling of children himself, is what I'm mostly saying. In fact, if people want to go off further, there's a possibility that Donald Trump might know some people as well who he might knowingly have done some fishy things about children, in regards of children, but he doesn't speak out as well. And that's not to say that anybody in my chat are Trump supporters, at least passionate enough to be blind to that side of this subject, but it's still worth saying to all the people who are more loyal to Trump in regards of these allegations. Sent 1000 says, at Myth Cuttlefish. So you're trolling. Makes me, it reminds me of Fievel Goes West, or An American Tale, Fievel Goes West. Hey, Sent 1000, how are you? Myth Cuttlefish says, praying that Hillary doesn't yeet Ghislaine. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just waiting at this point for how the Ghislaine Maxwell story plays out, because that would possibly be a big piece of evidence as to who specifically is involved or actively facilitating the trafficking of children. But as far as Tom Hanks himself goes, I'm seeing no evidence thus far. And it's just maddening to me that people is in fact a pedo just with little to no evidence is my main thing. Okay. So JC Armitage says, did Tom Hanks get Me Too'd or something? Yeah, exactly. As I later on, after JC provided that chat comment on talking about how the right wing is basically doing their own version of Me Too. But instead of it being of age women being raped, it's underage kids being fucked. Sent 1000 says, hello, Jason Smith Cuttlefish says, it's not a good look. The optics stink. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely, it does raise some eyebrows, the timing that he moves to Greece. But again, the timing itself doesn't mean hardly anything, at least in my opinion anyways. Someone 1000 says, personally, I hope Hillary comes after me so she can have the curses I have. Yeah. If Cuttlefish says, sent 1000, the thing is she's too boogie. What? I do not know what that would. Get her own hands dirty. I don't like that sort of bad. Oh, I think she was talking about Hillary Clinton, but what do you mean by boogie? I don't know. Jason Armitage says, my default position when it comes to pedo accusations, especially when I've seen no evidence, is assume the parents of the alleged victim are money-grubbing liars unless proven otherwise. Okay. Someone 1000 says, of age, are we talking about 18 or 21? I'm primarily talking about 18 as far as of age. 18 and older. That's my baseline, at least. I mean, yeah, there's I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to talk in further about age of consent in the next response video that I am in the middle of releasing, people. And by the way, it is a doozy, the current response video that I'm working on. So hold your socks for that. Myth Cuttlefish says, that's a great point, JC Armitage, but if you know someone scummy, you shouldn't be associating with it. Fair enough. The Pence rule is sound. I apply it to sketchy folks. Alicia would have something to say about that, DarkCon. Well, Alicia Clegg, if she ever sees this, well, then she's obviously welcome to come on the show if she wants to sometime. Maybe I'll have a Strike Force discussion talking about Wayfair and pedo accusations towards the elite and all that stuff. Maybe we can both talk about it. But yeah, as of right now, she's welcome to come on, but I'm just not believing it. JC Armitage says, well, miffed, I always take the innocent until proven guilty stance. That being said, you're talking about Hollywood elites like Tom Hanks and megacorps like Wayfair, so I could see the possibility of possibility of these allegations being true. But again, I still stand by my innocent until proven guilty stance. I agree, JC. 1000 says, you have to think everyone is guilty till proven innocent. Unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, sent 1000. By the Me Too people, that is. Well, yeah. I mean, more specifically, it's definitely higher with the Me Too people, but all the same. It doesn't seem to be just Me Too feminists that go, that sometimes slip into that kind of mentality. Guilty until proven innocent instead of innocent until proven guilty. Myth Cuttlefish says, nah, I'm all for trial, but your rep is what people are affected by. It's unfair, but shrug. Shrugging emoji. Yeah, I mean, that is the unfortunate thing here. Because of all these allegations and the subjects that got brought up and so forth, I'm not going to be able to look at a Tom Hanks movie the same ever again, ever since getting into these arguments and so forth. So, yeah. 1000 says, LOL, everyone who says they are right, blah, 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 till their citation needed. Yes, exactly. Myth Cuttlefish says, I hate Wayfair, but I care more about the BS they push in schools, which is doing more damage. All right. Clean your room. Okay, Jordan Peterson. No, that was Myth Cuttlefish who said that. But yeah, I'm definitely going to work on unpacking the rest of my stuff throughout this coming week. Instead of doing live streams, I'm going to be focusing mostly on unpacking throughout the rest of my hiatus. LOL, I don't want to. LOL says sent 1000. Oh, excuse me. Myth Cuttlefish says, and the God Emperor is not exempted. I agree, Myth Cuttlefish. Sent 1000. I know age of consent is different, but to me, legality is 21, even though the government sees 18 as adult. Yeah, I mean, different parents have different standards for what age they feel comfortable with fully just letting their children live their own marriage lives without even verbal intervention from them. Like, if a parent, if I was to find out that my 18-year-old kid, if I had kids anyways, if I was to find out that my 18-year-old kid was getting married to somebody who is like 30 or 35 or whatever, I would think that I would definitely be on edge, and I'd probably speak about it somewhat. But if they were 21, I would not speak hardly a lick about it. I wouldn't ask any prying questions or anything like that. But 18, yeah, that's too close. Even though technically it's not pedophilia and it is legal, and I would say by extension not immoral, I would still wonder of what immoral things were done before they had turned 18. My kid, anyways. Amen. They need to change everything to age 21, says Myth Cuttlefish. I don't know about that much, but okay. 18-year-olds are no longer adults. They stopped being that during my generation, says Myth Cuttlefish. Yeah, I mean, by extension, there used to have been a standard that when you turn 16, that is when you're adult. But of course, that was back in days of when the maximum age expectation of death was 55. Of course, life expectancy. That's the term I was looking for. Let me start that over. There was a time of when that 16 used to have been the standard for when you become an adult. But at the same time, that was back in the days of when that life expectancy was 55 on average. But I digress. Yes, that's why I say 18 years is pushing it if someone else is older than 30. Yep, exactly. Sent one. So anyway, that's pretty much all that the chat had for me, and that's all that I have for everybody who watches this. I hope that plenty of other people go watching this as well, and I'm probably going to keep on citing this video if ever in the future this subject arises again on social media or anything. But as far as the future project goes, I'm going to be a lot of the mentioning of age of consent and pedophilia and I'm gonna kill myself. I'm just killing myself little bit by little bit, just trying to explain this video. But basically, the video that I'm gonna be responding to is talking about whether or not pedophilia is libertarian. I felt dirty trying to say that. And whether or not children have the right to have sex with literally whoever they want. That's the video that I'm responding to. And just by mentioning the ideas behind the video I'm going to respond to, just that alone makes everybody fill up with cancer and cringe and whatnot. But yeah. Okay, there's a few more chats. Let me read them. I honestly think my 2 cents has the right idea with the rite of passage concept for determining adulthood, says JC Armitage. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, even if there was no government at all, if there was, if we did live within anarchy, then I would still heavily push for a general age of consent rule. I won't say law technically as in like a piece of legislation, but there should be some kind of, for lack of better wording, law of the land when it comes to what age it is okay for, having sex. Nonetheless. And if anybody goes below that, well, then that is a violation of the non-aggression principle, violation of their rights, of the children's rights anyways, and therefore there should be something done about it. Be it by vigilante justice or something other, but them ideas aside, we'll get to them in the future, obviously. Myth Cuttlefish says, hell yes, JC Armitage. Yeah. We are all, Sent One 1000 says that we all are killing ourselves because of the snowflakes of the world, says Sent One. Yeah, I mean, there's not much disagreement there. JC Armitage says, may I ask who made that is pedophilia libertarian video? Says JC Armitage. The video, it's a live stream, but I'm not going to mention any names for right now, but trust me, you'll know. You'll know when the video gets released. And by then you can start haranguing them for their position when it comes to pedophilia and so forth. And by the way, if somebody wants to take that as me condoning harassing them, well then, what the fuck ever. But I believe that pedo apologists, they're an exception when it comes to whether or not we should harass them. That's my belief anyways. Wait, JC had a question. Yeah, I know, Myth Cuttlefish, but I'm just going to leave the question. May I ask who made that as pedophilia libertarian video? I'm going to leave that as a surprise. I'm not going to mention names so far. It's nobody in my close circles, just to let everyone know. He already answered it. Yeah, exactly, JC. Anyway, that's about all that I have, and we'll see you guys all later. Hang tight. I still have a little bit more of hiatus that I'm going to continue on until I'm like fully unpacked in my apartment. But before the hiatus is up, I'm at least going to work on that response video again, and by the time that is released, hopefully that will pacify you guys' urge for some juicy, dark conservatarian edited response content, right? Right. We condone it. Just kidding. It says 1000. And by the way, all right. I'm now going to take out of here, but before I do, Metal Minister has these words of wisdom to say in our farewell of this stream, and that is, pedos get free chopper rides. Hope to see you all later. God bless. Take care.